Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen McGriff. I'm privileged to stand here with Andrew Schwab to tell you a story about a school district and how they developed a professional learning program. Before we kick this into gear, just be aware, Andrew and I are just going to tell you a story. And we each have different parts of the story to share. The slides will keep us on track. And if you just come up with one of those burning questions and you just have to know, what did that mean? Feel confident to interrupt us and say, what did that mean? And we'll do our best to answer that question for you. We'll also save time at the end to answer questions more specifically. So I've done something for you, but it's not what you think. So what I've done for you is I've built a note-taking outline. As the professor in residence at the Krause Center for Innovation, we're responsible for conducting professional learning programs for teachers. We love going into districts, working with teachers, and inspiring them to do new and innovative things with technology. Andrew gave us an opportunity in his school district to continue the work that we had started even before he arrived. Andrew.
Yeah, so I'm the Chief Technology Officer at my school district, and I'm responsible for both the IT infrastructure as well as the edtech. And we had a program in place when I got there about 2.5 years ago. And over the last 2.5 years, we've expanded that program. So Union School District, who we are, we're a K-8. We're about 5,600 students. We're growing. That looks like 6 elementaries, 2 middle schools. And we do pretty good on our test scores, which is nice. And we are currently now, by the end of this school year, we'll be one-to-one devices district-wide. And a lot of that has really happened over the last 18 months. And I think some of the keys to our success with how we've been able to go so fast has been related to our professional development program, which we're going to talk about.
That's great. About 4 years ago, the Union School District approached the Krause Center for Innovation for some ideas about professional learning for their teachers. Since they knew that one of the things that we like to do is to treat teachers like the professionals that they are. Oh, come on, professionals. So Brad Montague was awesome this morning. He already told you you were awesome. We're just here to repeat that for you. We appreciate the work that you do, and we want to make sure you're even more excellent in that. So here was the setting in 2012. The superintendent at Union School District had a wise idea to partner with 2 other superintendents and think about how do we improve teachers working with technology. In that process of them thinking and talking, they attended a conference. They met the executive director, Gay Krause, of the Krause Center for Innovation, and the snowball started to roll forward. We were invited in to talk with the 3 districts about ideas for professional learning for teachers, and it just kind of picked up momentum from that point forward. Here's how the outline of kind of a perspective of that particular time. Caitlin Klein, a teacher in the district, wrote this back to me when I asked her, tell me the story of what you experienced in the time before you participated in the program. So technology was in place. Teachers were using technology, but not as effectively or efficiently as could be done. Because it's there, let's figure out how it works. So they were working through different processes and wondering, well, which one do I use? Do I pick this one or do I pick that one? And one of the jobs that we picked up on right away was figuring out, oh, we could vet a lot of these tools and software to help teachers figure out what they would like to do next so they could create learning that would be meaningful. Here's a good idea that came out of our work together. When you're able to build up the Teachers Educational Technology Conference first, you have a better chance when deploying the technology that it doesn't sit in a corner and gather dust or just go unused.
Yeah, and I have a little bit different take on that. And so I think it's the best case scenario is if you can do EdTech PD and then have the devices ready right away so that teachers can take what they've learned and put it into practice immediately. So from my perspective, if you do a lot of EdTech PD but don't have devices, that's problematic. And if you don't do a lot of EdTech PD and you have a lot of devices, that's also problematic. You have to have both. They have to go hand in hand, and they really should build on each other, especially if you want to leverage, if you're going to do a lot of EdTech PD, You want teachers to have access and opportunity, so they need the devices to do that. So it's kind of chicken and egg, but I've seen a lot of districts who concentrate on the devices and don't give PD enough thought, and you need to think about both.
What I appreciate about Andrew's viewpoint is he had mentioned he came in after we had already started the relationship with Union School District. So he came in and just started running with the whole program idea. I guess it was the second year of running a summer professional learning program, Andrew organized the deployment of Chromebooks and MacBooks and other kinds of classroom technology to be timed right at the finish of or during the middle of the program and at the end of the program as a reward for the teachers who are participating. And I thought that was a remarkable thing for a district administrator to be so thoughtful and to plan in advance for that. The partnerships formed in this, as I was mentioning before, there was Moreland and Cambrian school districts working with Union, but the story is about how Union continued the effort. Those three districts reached out to the KCI for some advice and some guidance. And this is what I appreciated about what they had done and what I've seen as the outcomes after 3 years. When districts work together and they're willing to share resources and ideas together, they have a better chance of finding the kinds of support and sustaining it over time. I thought that was a really novel idea for districts to partner together in that particular way.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I've come on board, some of those relationships have changed, and we brought on new districts that we're working with. We're actually part of a group of feeder districts that feed into a high school district. So we all have common communities, common issues, and we try to collaborate together so that as we're planning, the high school district knows what we're sending them. And they can plan for that. And then having Kraus available as a resource that has a certain set of expertise that certainly 3 years ago we did not, was I think really key to that, helping us develop the program that we have today.
We'll tell you more stories about what that program is, but the vision that Union came up with was, in my opinion, also very, very novel. They were looking for a way to build a sustainable capacity to effectively have educational technology change occur year after year after year. And how do you create a sustainable program of change? It requires sort of a consistent process and mindfulness of working towards an ultimate goal. So in the process of developing a professional learning program, they kept layering some ideas on. I said, well, Steve, after the summer, what could we do to continue working with the teachers to reinforce what they learned? We'll toss out a few more ideas. Then over time it became, well, what can we do next year? And then I realized what they were up to was creating layers of technology using teachers over time. And we've been through 3 program cycles looking towards the 4th one this August.
So just to extend that thought, when I came on board, we had a really solid foundation of teacher leadership for professional development in the district. So we had Common Core ELA, Common Core Math, and technology teacher leaders. And the technology teacher leaders through the Kraus program were about to complete their first year of this program, and we really didn't have anything for them to do after that. So we didn't know what we were going to do the next year. And so we wanted to have them continue to learn, but perhaps learn different areas or focus on different things. So this has evolved over time. What happens now is kind of our Tech 1 idea is we want to get teachers excited about using technology. We want to introduce them to probably too many tools, right? It can be overwhelming. And then for the second year, also key in the first year is this idea of presenting to peers and working with peers and sharing with peers. So we're building capacity among our teachers to be leaders on their campuses. In the second year, we shift focus a little bit, and we give opportunities for coaching. So we release teachers into the classroom to coach their peers at their site. And we're starting to look at how do we really integrate technology into the classroom. Less tools focus, more integration into instruction. And then for this year, for the third cohort that's moved through, we really have shifted past tools, because for these folks, tool use, technology it's comfortable, it's normal, they use it all the time, and we're really looking at how do you design instruction for one-to-one learning environments. And we had an opportunity to take our K-5 math teacher leaders and put them in a room with these folks for a week over summer to really talk about what does instruction look like for K-5 math with technology integrated. So because we built this capacity over the last 3 years, we've been able to do a lot of very interesting things around PD that's all led by our own teachers, which is really, really cool. So
that's really a good point.
Yeah.
While the Union School District brought the KCI in to do the initial training, it was never the goal for us to continue to train the teachers, but rather to prepare those Tech 1 teachers to go out and develop their own instructional materials and resources and style to be able to lead their peers through the learning experience. And that will become the core of the story as we go forward.
And I think that one of the critical pieces is that in the original design, it was never a one and done situation. There was always continuous professional development built in. And so we just kind of carried that over as a natural state into the next year. But the idea that you can do EdTech PD a couple times and be done is, I don't think it works very well. So I think it's very important, whatever program you have, and you may have it, it's probably one of those goals or
Yes.
great ideas,
Yes.
but it's to have this continuous PD always going.
It's a trademark at the Krause Center for Innovation. When we do professional learning in our specialized programs, we bring teachers together for an intensive time of learning and then let them back into their classroom environments and then pull them back for some continual learning, such that if you imagine starting the plates of teachers spinning in orbit during the summer, the academic year starts to slow them down. They come back, we spin them up again, and we do this 3 or 4 times to keep their momentum going forward and to continue to build a professional learning network among those cohorts of teachers who started in the summer. I had asked one of the teachers who had participated in the program, why in the world would you want to be a Tech 1 teacher when it was first introduced? And Christy Mills responded in this way. She was motivated to work in a more captivating and motivating way with her students. She wanted to learn so that she could do something on behalf of her students. For the Krause Center for Innovation, that's really the magic. We love teachers, but we love your students more. If we can empower that teacher who comes to see us to do something great for their students, that's 30 kids per teacher or so that we couldn't reach otherwise. That is awesome to be able to do something like that, to inspire a teacher, to inspire their students for learning. Christy got it, and I appreciate her willingness to share this back with us. When we treat teachers as professionals, you inspire them to believe in the quality of the work that they do. What Andrew and Union School District have done is incentivize the teachers to participate in the program. I believe there's a stipend that's offered to the teachers in addition to some technology tools that they receive along the way.
Yeah, so it is a stipended responsibility. There's a list of responsibilities actually throughout the year that go with it. The main component really is the summer piece where we actually go to the Krause Center. They have this amazing space. And I find that we do a lot of PD in-house and we do it at the district office. And so what's nice is if you go to a different place that's kind of outside your norm, it kind of helps you think differently, which is one of the things we're trying to encourage teachers to do. So it's really nice that we can go to a space that's not kind of in our normal wheelhouse. And then, as Steve was mentioning, when we did our district-wide MacBook rollout, the first teachers to get their MacBook, they actually were the tech leaders at the Krause Center the first day of their training. They were the first ones to get their brand new MacBook. So we incentivize these folks. These are our tip of the spear. We give them all the goodies first. We give them as many PD opportunities as we can. A lot of them are here, and several of them are presenting. So any way we can, we try to incentivize because this is very important to what we want to do and what we want to see in the classroom. And I think it's really important to treat teachers as professionals because we're asking them to do a lot. So we've had a lot of success with that.
Andrew mentioned that a number of teachers from the Union School District are here, and this is their time to shine in the spotlight. Raise your hand. Come find them and ask them, were those two guys for real? Did it really go down that way? Did you really feel like that? And you'll hear some more amazing stories, I'm sure. Another interesting thing that came out of the work together, looking at what Union was doing, was when they established a cohesive vision that was consistent from year to year. I said, this is really a forward-thinking school district. That's amazing. I really appreciate hearing that you want to invest year after year in your teachers, in their professional growth.
So I have a comment on this. Steve's looking at it from the outside, and I'm looking at it from the inside. And so from the outside, it looks very well thought out and planned, like we had this whole idea that, we would have this multi-year professional development. But the truth is, I've kind of been making it up as we go along, year to year. And one of the key pieces of that is the teacher feedback. So we ask teachers, what do you want to see next year? What worked, what didn't? And then we adjust. But our overall vision is we want to continue to provide world-class professional development opportunities for our teachers. And so that's always been consistent, but really, even right now, I'm finalizing what we're going to do next year, and it's still not crystallized in my head yet. So we're always constantly reevaluating and tweaking the program, which I think has actually helped, and in some cases, we've learned some things that we shouldn't have done, but we're constantly adjusting.
So I think Andrew was trying to tell me he was really stumbling through this with style. Here's a high-level overview of how this professional learning model has worked in the Union School District. We do an intensive one-week training, 5 days in a row. And we do this at the Krause Center for Innovation. And then we release those teachers with a purpose in mind, that we will see them again in a few weeks to help them develop a presentation or a project that they could then share with the other teachers in their district on designated professional learning days. We did this twice in 2 different periods of time in each of the years that we have worked with them. And each time the Krause Center comes back to the district now, and the teachers are released from their classroom life to hang out with us for another 6 hours. And we coach them through a presentation or a deeper learning on a technology tool with the specific idea that those teachers are going to take it and turn it back around to share with their peers at a designated day in the near future, like the next week or within the next month. And over time, you can see what is going to happen in this model is we come back in, we spin the plates a little bit more, the teachers are excited, they take their energy and they begin sharing it among the teachers, other teachers in the district. So this is wonderful in year 1. It works pretty well in year 2, and suddenly we get to year 3, and Andrew says to us, wow, I'd really like to send 50 teachers through your program instead of just 20. Well, 50 teachers show up, and they've already had 2 years of experience learning the technology, the edtech tools and strategies that we had been doing for 2 years, and they raised the bar on the program, and that will be a lesson learned that we'll emphasize.
Yes, absolutely. It was one of those unanticipated consequences. So because teachers had even if it was just passively been exposed to a lot of technology tools through the peer presentations over 2 years, when we went to run our 3rd year and we brought more teachers into the program, they got to Krause Center on day 1, and we had kind of strategized day 1 to be the same as it had been for the last 2 years. And the teachers were very good about providing feedback. Steve was very good about adjusting immediately on the fly. But what we realized is that we had raised the entry point, the level, and the basics weren't going to cut it anymore because they'd seen that several times. Even if they hadn't actively participated, they had been in those staff development sessions or those district PD days, which was a great problem to solve because that actually told us that things were working the way we wanted them to. So that was pretty cool.
Yes. Andrew, I really appreciate your perspective on that because I was sweating bullets that day.
Me too.
So here's a high level, here's what 5 days might look like. We chunk them according to some major topics, and they run through these themes. So the theme on a Monday would be collaboration, connections, and all of the technology tools on that day would focus on that particular theme. There would be one instructor for the group, or in the case when we had 50, we had split the group in half and had 2 instructors, but they stuck to this particular theme. They create opportunities for learning, lots of hands-on time, some dissemination of information, checking in, how might this work in your classroom and your grade level. Then we come back in the next day and say, okay, yesterday's topics are the basis for how you might communicate and collaborate with one another. Now let's focus on visual communication. Let's get you in motion for a presentation or some way to document a learning experience, or you want to create a form of instruction, because that will be the project that you're going to showcase at the end of the 5 days. This is a key ingredient to making this work, is that on day one, those teachers walk in and you tell them, you got something due on Friday. And it's going to look like this. And then you spend 4 days explaining it over and over again just to make sure that it's clear. It puts a focal point for all of the learning, so it's not disjointed between Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. There's always a goal. And we don't tell the teachers who come in, you have to do this kind of a presentation on this topic. That would be called like homework. No, we make this very relevant in terms of what's going on in your classroom. What would you like to do? So you can imagine if there's 50 teachers in the space, there could be 50 different ideas. So we make sure that we bring in instructional leaders who are classroom teachers who know technology and can fluidly work through the dynamic of a constructivist environment with 50 learners. Andrew, do you know this? How well do you know that this is how we structure this model of learning?
Well, I kind of had some idea, but I didn't realize the detail. So it's actually nice to see that there is detail and that much thought. But yeah.
Anytime. I'll share it. I'll let you have the slide deck, man.
Might help me while I'm planning next year, yeah.
There's something important that I note on Wednesday down in blue. Blue is kind of the afternoon time. So there's something called sandbox time. So someone brings a couple little toys to the playground. All the rest of the kids come into play and they bring their own toys, and we begin sharing the toys, and we begin sharing the learning experience in a sandbox-like fashion. Totally collaborative, totally fun. Let's be creative, let's be inspirational, let's make up new stuff as we go along. It has proven to be one of the most important professional learning times ever. Put it in the afternoon to get past that post-lunch slump, and give teachers the opportunity to work together, not on a specific assignment given by the instructional leader, but rather on something that comes to their own mind. And we really enjoy that particular part. Well, I think the teachers enjoy that part too. Here's something that we have been learning through our experiences together. We know that one-off learning experiences can be inspirational. They can be like spark plugs. But just like the spark on a spark plug, it doesn't always last as long or have as much impact later on. So one-offs serve a certain purpose, and they have good short-term goals. But for a sustained transformative experience, the whole professional learning should be an immersive opportunity for teachers to become students in the learning environment, sweat and get nervous about whether or not they know certain technology tools, whether they're on Twitter or not, whether they know Padlet or Edpuzzle or Answer Garden, or they know how to use Explain Everything. The challenge of learning these kinds of tools and terminologies and how to mash them together creates the wonderful learning opportunities that we strive for, that become the transformative and transferable ones. Systemic change takes a constant measure of force and effort over time. And when teachers are inspired and encouraged by their district to cross-train one another, they feel that freedom to keep exploring and keep challenging one another in what they are learning and how they're learning it and how it can apply throughout the grade levels in that district.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I think actually the whole transition for our Tech 2 year came about from teacher feedback when teachers asked, can we do some coaching at our sites? And I think that was a result of the requirement that we wanted teachers to present at their grade levels at their sites. And just to be completely 100% transparent, one of the major hurdles to getting teachers into the Tech 1 program, that the first year, is the requirement that they have to present in front of peers. That's one of the biggest hurdles. When teachers are asking me about it and I'm talking to them about the program, that's their biggest concern most often. So what we've done is we actually allow them to present in pairs or up to groups of 3, which seems to alleviate some of that anxiety. Yeah. But I think they grow so much from that experience that it's really worth it. And if I had listened to all the feedback, we would have taken that out. But I think it's a key piece to the program. And once they get over that first hurdle of presenting and they're successful, now we have teachers here, presenting at national conference with however many hundred people in the room. So I'm really glad we didn't take that out, but I'm also glad we listened to teachers and brought in the coaching opportunities for them. So, it's really looking at what you want to achieve and then looking at what teachers want to do and trying to find a happy medium.
Sweet. Cindy shared this with me in a survey that I asked her about. Said, how have you been transformed by the experience of being a Tech 1 in your district? And this is what she said. Of course, I emphasize certain features of it on key points that I think are most valuable and most universal to the experiences of all the teachers in the program. Cindy had courage. She was brave enough to release control to her students. For many teachers, that's a scary proposition. She was willing to invest the time in finding out how the technology worked in advance and let the students explore the possibilities. What she found was that moving towards a student-centered learning environment, it was very necessary to release that control and help her students figure out how to self-manage and work their way through whatever projects or assignments that she had given them. That kind of confidence and courage is an intangible quality that's difficult to measure except when the teacher writes back to us and says, this is what happened in my classroom. Her story is just one of many of what has happened for teachers in the Union School District.
Well, I guess this is where I have to talk about how this has changed our district. So we have a couple slides, and I think the transformative aspect, I can't understate that enough, or overstate that. We've really, because of this program that started as just an idea for a year, where we were going to bring teachers in and do some professional development with them, has really, again, we're now in multi-year elements of the program, but it's allowed us now to do job-embedded PD with, now we have TOSAs on board for technology integration, which I think was a direct result of seeing how our teachers reacted to this program. Our district didn't have TOSAs before. We've been able to do district-wide edtech events because as teachers have gone through this program, the demand has increased. And so we started out by just offering a day before school start, before official school start. And I think we had 90 teachers. And then we offered the day again this year, and we had 120 teachers. And so next year we'll probably have 150, hopefully. But it's just, it's this kind of organic growth that is happening. I think it's all a natural result of having teachers going through these leadership opportunities. We do after-school union universities, which are led by our teacher leaders. So any teacher in the district can sign up and attend one of these that are led by our teacher leaders. We partner with our county office as well, and we do academies after school for teachers, usually around some theme or topic like digital media creation or something. And of course, I encourage teachers to come to conferences. My standing rule is if they get accepted to present, I'll pay their way there. So I had several teachers get accepted to this one, which is good. And then we've really started to connect. We use social media as a district now to connect. And so all of these things have been really positive, and I think a direct result of having this momentum that we've been able to develop.
But Andrew, there's something more. There's a spillover effect. There are districts that neighbor you that you've now pulled into this whole realm of your teachers wanting more ed tech and asking for ed tech type conferences. So
well, and I think that's a key part of the district collaboration, because not every district is the same. But if you're kind of talking about what you're all doing, and you can get teachers together to have those conversations, you can help push each other along, which I think is key as well. So we've also had an opportunity to reimagine our learning spaces because of this. And I think one of the advantages to having so many technology teacher leaders is that we can go to them and say, hey, I have this crazy idea. We want to take all your furniture away and bring in stuff with wheels on it. And they will say yes, and they will try it out, and they will experiment, and they will give me feedback. And that is invaluable as we're trying to redesign our what learning looks like for us in the 21st century. And it has had results. We do district walkthroughs, and last year when we had just pushed out Chromebooks to all of our 3rd through 8th grade, a lot of our walkthroughs, we saw Chromebook carts, didn't necessarily see the Chromebooks being used. This year, we've walked through and we see the Chromebooks on the table, We've seen them more used, but they're not in the carts anymore, so we're seeing progress. And when we go to our tech leader classrooms, we see technology being used in amazing ways. So we see the difference with teachers who've been through a sustained professional development program, but we also see the halo effect that's helping our other teachers who haven't had an opportunity to go through this program move themselves along too. And our kids are doing amazing things with technology throughout the district in a very short time. This is about 2 years, where we've really had devices and professional development to go together hand in hand to see these effects. And it's been really amazing. So everybody loves data. How many administrators here? You're probably looking like, ooh, data, it's a graph. Okay. So we use something called Bright Bites, and we took a survey before we started, and then we took a survey, excuse me, after we had been doing this for a year, and then we just took one last November. And it basically measures technology use and access in the classroom and all that. You can see that for classroom technology use, that's kind of where you see professional development, the result of professional development. We actually moved from emerging to proficient just in the year and a half that we've been collecting data, which is actually the people who do Bright Bites, they were like, what are you guys doing? Because we don't see this happen. And so we kind of talked about what we had been doing. And that's been very impressive. There's another interesting thing I'll just point out. Our other access skill environment kind of took a dip, and we were wondering how you can have your classroom activity go up and your other stuff go down. And apparently when you put a lot of devices out, there's this implementation bump, and so more teachers have access who may not be ready for it or who have hesitation about how to use it, and so you get a dip. And so we're hoping to see those go up as we continue our professional development. But we realized that we wanted to be able to kind of track the progress of how this goes from our perspective, and I think you guys also have data available that helps you see how things are going.
In terms of the program itself, I'm going to talk about that in just a moment.
I knew there was a slide in there for that somewhere.
I refuse to read the slide. Caitlin describes it so well.
Have Caitlin read it.
Wouldn't you like to have a wildfire of excited teachers? My wife, the teacher, was reading a book, Teach Like Your Hair's on Fire. Very humorous, but very real. Inspired teachers can transform a child's life, can transform that classroom experience. Isn't that what we want? I know for my kids in school, that's what I want. I want them to come home excited because their teachers are excited about teaching and their teachers are excited about learning, and they understand how the two go together. And they're willing to open windows of opportunities through the use of educational technologies so that students can see things beyond their own knowledge, beyond the teacher's own knowledge and the teacher's own experiences. Because that confident teacher is not afraid to open that window through themselves into the world that technologies can expose them to. And it's awesome to see how that has been happening in classroom experiences and through teachers like Caitlin. Some of the results of developing this program Andrew and I have already made reference to. One thing that I didn't share with you is that we didn't come up with that 5-day model of professional learning out of nowhere. It was built out of another professional learning program that the KCI, the Krauss Center for Innovation, is well known for. It's called the Merit Program. Merit is 2 intensive weeks of summer learning and then 4 sessions in the academic year where we bring the teachers back to keep them motivated and highly interested in applications of educational technology. Well, 2 weeks of professional learning is really intense, and those teachers are selected into the program. So we thought maybe we could make the same transformative experience happen in just 5 days. And the union model has shown us that it is possible. We decided to focus on just a single district in this case and see how well could this really work. When teachers already know one another, coming into a professional learning environment, we don't have to do all of the schmoozing and getting to know you kinds of activities. We can just get down to work. There's a natural affinity for teachers in the district to want to be supportive and helpful of one another. We capitalized on in the way that we organize the activities and the learning experiences. What we were learning and we've reflected on is that as each year of the union program progressed, the teachers were coming in with higher levels of technology skill. The entry point was rising. And so my instructional team and me as a co-developer on the instruction had to keep thinking, what do we need to do next to raise the bar and keep these teachers motivated and engaged? So right now we're in a situation where we keep having to find more experienced instructors to lead the union teachers through their learning experience. And that's an awesome challenge for us in the Krauss Center for Innovation to have. So here's the good idea that came out of that. You got to stay ahead of those inspired teachers, because once they're on fire, they just start running.
Yeah, it's taken off. And I will say that just one of the original ideas was that we would train teachers, we would get them professional development, we'd get them up to the point where they could be our leaders for professional development in district. And hands down, I have teachers who could step up to that role tomorrow, and they'd be awesome at it because of the program and because they're awesome. And but I've made a conscious decision to continue with outside presenters because I think there's a value there in having experts come from outside. There's that whole, you're never a prophet in your own land kind of vibe going on. And our teachers get plenty of time to present and be those peer leaders at their sites that for us, it just hasn't been where we've gone. But I could have 10 teachers from my district lead professional development tomorrow if I wanted to because of this program. But I see the value in bringing outside people in, and it kind of it cross-pollination. That whole idea that we're going to bring ideas in from outside is a key piece of this. So we don't want to give that up.
That's great. Thank you for saying it that way. It was a beautiful analogy. What we have learned also is that successful outcomes for teachers, the outcomes are better. When the district doesn't dictate, oh, this is the training on this new software that we're deploying statewide, while that's important, it's not necessarily the inspiring, motivating kinds of training. When the districts allow us as a professional learning provider to create the scope and sequence, to come to conferences like this and pull down all the kinds of educational technology tools that we hear about here, distill them to a few core tools and technologies and practices, and they allow us to craft and shape the program and just sort of monitor how well this fits this initiative. Can you try mixing in a little bit of this technology here because it will help teachers with the deployment of their Chromebooks. We pull that in, but Andrew and his team didn't say to us, those teachers must learn A, B, and C technology tools, and then they must be able to look like superhuman people when they're done. It wasn't anything dictatorial or so strongly directive that it handcuffed us. We had a lot of creative freedom in how we approached the learning. And Andrew and his team have been very kind and gentle in sort of working with us through some ideas. Not everything worked well.
No, and we've had to evolve because of the successes that we've had. But I think you survey the teachers and ask them what they want. We have some high-level ideas of what the direction is we want to go. But at the end of the day, you're bringing in the experts, and you're developing the program for us. And in this case, you guys are the expert for this program for us. And we trust you. So it's worked really well so far.
Thank you, Andrew. Here's my last good idea. When districts support and don't add directives, give the guidelines, support the PL, but allow the trusted PL provider to lead the learning is the most crucial aspect to making it successful. I thought of a way to summarize this whole entire experience. Legos come to mind. So thinking about how Lego blocks are built or how buildings are built, you start with a foundation. That's the teacher's heart and soul. What do we add to that? Knowledge of technology, knowledge of content, pedagogical practices, all supported by a district policy and a culture that enables them to do the teaching that they know how to do in the way that they know how to do it. Some of the professional learning that we are able to offer creates a sense of courage and courage to fail. Fail is simply first attempts in learning. When we have teachers who know how to fail, that only reinforces the very thing that we want for them to develop. They have a deeper passion in teaching for learning. They understand the experience that their students go through because they too have had the experience of not getting something done successfully or the way that they wanted, or the experience of, wow, Susie really did that a lot better than I did. She really knows Prezi or Prezzo. She really made that rock and I can't do anything like that. Believe it or not, we hear stories like that from teachers. When they have this kind of a transformative experience, when they're in this classroom context, it's all about building their confidence so that it supports them. But there's more that happens. In the Union School District, they've had many opportunities to draw from professional learning experiences, from the County Office of Education, from other learning leading providers. And they dip into those buckets, and that becomes the mortar that holds together all these blocks and pieces that give the foundation solidity, allows that teacher to grow. When that foundation is wide and deep, you could build a skyscraper on top of it. And it is that kind of confidence that we want teachers to have when they're working in their classroom environments with their students. Andrew asked me about data that we collect from the teachers. Preparing this presentation and getting feedback from Cindy and Caitlin told me, and listening to Andrew's stories about what is happening in his district, I'll simply say, at the end of every summer and the end of each session, the majority of teachers are very satisfied with the learning experience they have had. The real testimony of success is the stories that you hear, or I wouldn't be standing on the stage with the chief technology officer from that district talking with me about the success of this program, or having the stories of the teachers become so real and so apparent. It doesn't matter how much data I can show you about their satisfaction through parts of the program. Their lives have been changed, and that's really all that's going to matter in the end, isn't it? I've summarized all of the good ideas and I didn't summarize them, I just collected them together in the next 3 slides, which you will be able to download with this presentation if they're not already included in your notes. So I'm just going to cruise through these, and we're in the home stretch, man. We're like doing good here.
We're in the follow me on Twitter stage, and then open it up to questions stage. Yes. I think, right?
Yeah. Ooh.
I'm impressed. You made time. I mean, if there's no other questions, I'm happy to stay up here. If you guys want to come up, don't want to ask in public, that's cool. But thank you very much.
Thank you. You're awesome.